So whether your legal practice runs you comes down to a thing that most lawyers don't know, let alone check. And here's what you need to look for. In the next 4 minutes, I'm going to share with you our dominant constraint self-check. 4 binary questions that give lawyers a name diagnosis of exactly which structural design flaw is costing you the most and where it could be living. Now, if you want a thriving lawyer assessment so you can complete the full diagnostic, just drop assess in the comments below and I'll send it to you. My name is Ramesh Chatterjee and I help lawyers use technology to move from a practice-centric life to a life-centric practice. And I work with lawyers who have tried, abandoned, and replaced software more than they can count, yet still feel no progress towards living a practice or building a practice that they can be proud of. And in these videos, I'm going to give you one thing that you can immediately implement today. You know something's wrong. Yeah, and you might have known for some time, but you haven't been able to name it properly. And because you haven't been able to name it properly, you don't know how to solve this nagging feeling. But the truth is that being overwhelmed and frustrated and not where you need to be are descriptions. They're not diagnoses. They're not prescriptions. Most lawyers in this situation do one of two things. They'll consume more content hoping the answer will surface, or they might pick something that's most visible to them and address that. Now, neither of these works because if you're not asking the right question, you're really solving for things that might not be the solution you need. They don't work because neither identifies the actual structural constraint. And you can consume all of the practice management resources out there, but still not know why your practice is not getting momentum. The truth is the problem has a specific location, and generic content is not going to solve it. The problem here is that every legal practice, believe it or not, is unique. It's unique in terms of practice area. Criminal law lawyer is going to be different from a business lawyer, from a family law lawyer. But it's also different and unique because of who you are and where you are practicing. And generic content that's available online is not going to be relocated. It's not going to be customized and tailored to what you need. But most lawyers are going to have a failure in their practices in one of 4 ways: your revenue model, your operations, your calendar, or your client mix. And until you identify that location, every fix you're implementing is really operating based on guesswork without a map. And so here's this dominance constraint self-check, 4 questions that you can answer really honestly. So the questions begin with looking at 4 different places called the ceiling, the leash, the drain, and the drift. So the ceiling is your revenue is limited by the number of hours you personally bill. And that's a yes or no question. The leash question, does your practice stop functioning if you're not present? That's again, yes or no. The drain, does delivering good work consistently leave you depleted? Again, yes or no. And then the drift, would you build this practice again if you were starting over today? Yes or no. You don't need to analyze or overanalyze the answer to these questions. Just answer it based on your gut feeling. Step 2, identify your most visceral yes. Now, when it comes to these 4 questions, most lawyers are going to answer yes to more than one of them. I know I certainly do. But one will land differently. One will produce a recognition that others won't. That is what we call the dominant constraint, the thing that you need to address immediately. The others might be yeses, but they aren't a priority to the one you answer yes empathetically to. So fix the dominant one first, and then the other ones are going to be more manageable. And then lastly, name the address. If it's a ceiling, the problem is going to be in your revenue model. If it's a leash, it's going to be in your operations. If it's drain, it's going to be living in your calendar. And then if it's drift, it's going to be living in your client mix. You now have a constraint and you're going to have an address. That is a diagnosis. And using the diagnosis, you now have the opportunity to act on that. Something that you wouldn't be able to do with just describing the problem. By naming the diagnosis, you're converting your anxiety into something that you're in a better position to solve. You've given it a name, you've given it an address, you know what you're looking for, and you know the potential solution to solve it. It stops feeling like a permanent condition, and it starts feeling like something that there's a flaw that can be fixed that might even be within your capacity to do something about. Now, this self-check is the beginning. The full assessment takes 10 minutes and delivers a complete diagnostic output, a named failure mode, constraint address, and a first lever, whether you work with anyone or not. And if you want Thriving Lawyer Assessment, just drop assess below and I'll send it over to you. In 10 minutes, you'll have a name diagnosis of the exact structural flaw that's costing you time, presence, and sustainability, and clarity on what needs to change, whether you work with anyone or not. That's the starting point for every decision that comes next.